This is Warren Vanderhill interviewing Hurley Goodall for the Muncie Labor Oral History Project. The date is December 5th, 2005. And Hurley, I want to thank you very much for being a very important part of this project and really helping to get it going. But since it's the first interview and what I hope will be many that we could put over in the Goodall archives and share with people in the Muncie community, I'd like to begin by asking the sort of standard question. If you could tell me a little bit about your family and how they got to Muncie and what drew them to Muncie and all that kind of thing.
Well, I really can't tell you what drew them to Muncie so much, but I can give you the history of what I found out from doing some research. They came from a plantation in Virginia, and some way my great-grandfather got into Kentucky, where he married his wife. I was able to find that out through the census figures. Then they came over into Ohio, and from Ohio they came to Indiana and settled in close to Portland, Indiana. A little black community there right outside of Portland. Name went out of my mind right now, but we're just south of Portland, because I went over to try to find it. Couldn't find it. And then they came from Portland to Muncie.
Okay. Were they drawn here, like most people at that time, by opportunities for employment?
Yeah, I think so. I think they settled first in one of the 3 black settlements over in Randolph County, and then came to Portland area.
Right.
And I know that my uncle was a cook in a hotel over there before he went in the Army in World War I.
Okay.
And then they came to Muncie, and they were twin brothers, Hurley and Burley. That's how I got my name.
Okay.
And
was Burley spelled just like Burley?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they're like Hurley and Burley. That was the way the twins were named. And they came to Muncie and married sisters, my mother and her sister.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, you know, from there, he worked at the Malville down there. My father and my uncle both worked there. And my father died when he was, I think he was in his early 30s. And my mother was left with 3 sons.
Yeah.
And my youngest brother came down with polio, and that was right in the Great Depression. And at that time, you know, I realized how difficult the situation is, you know, a kid growing up like that. And one of the things I always tell people, and I remember, is that when I was a child and we were on the welfare system, and my youngest brother came down with polio, my mother got a chance to poll the precincts for one of the political parties on the road, Republican, on the at that time. But she made $30, and we were getting $30 a month for the welfare, so somebody reported to the caseworker. Caseworker came to the house and said, "Miss Goodall, I understand you made $30 this month, so you don't need the $30. We're going to give you," and I've hated that system ever since. I said, I never would subject my family to a system like that. I'd rather hunt rabbits with a rock and pick dandelion greens than subject my family to that kind of situation. Yeah. And so I've hated the welfare system ever since then.
Tell me a little bit about your educational background.
Well, I went to school here in Muncie. Okay. Went to Longfellow School there on Broadway and Highland Avenue, and left there and went to McKinley Junior High, which was in the field house.
Right.
At that time, they had taught class in the field house. And I went to the first classes, I think it was in the 9th grade. I think he was 10th grade when he went to Central back then. In the 9th grade in the new McKinley building, one that they tore down, that was right between New Central and the field house. I was in the first class in 1939 in that building. And then I went on to Muncie Central downtown. Graduated there in 45. Joined the Army and was sent to Japan. We got there right after the war was over. And I tell class when I talk to them all the time, you know, that there was a conference about Rose Truman should about the atomic bomb. I said, well, I'm one of them kids that witness. I believe I'd be buried over there had he not done that. Because when we got there, it was about 6 months after the war was over, and they had dug tunnels all under the island of Honshu. We had to go in and dig them out one by one. And hell, there's been a million American boys killed trying to invade that island. So, you know, I don't question what the guy did. I know it was a terrible decision for anybody to make, but he saved a million American kids' lives in Vincent.
I agree.
So you had to live in that time to really understand what made him make that decision.
I want to talk mostly, of course, about your work career.
Yeah.
Did you have jobs when you were in high school?
Yeah.
What did you do?
Yeah. Well, first I started working at bowling alley when I was 13
pins?
years old. Yeah, setting pins. To tell you what,
I've done that.
well, what brought that on is there was a Black Girls Club at McKinley Junior High School, and they were selling fudge candy, you know, squares. A little old long-head boy, a friend of mine, he worked at bowling alley. When they came around, he asked them how much a whole box cost. And I think they said 50 cents.
Yeah.
And he said, give me a whole box, and he just passed it out to the whole class, and he became a hero. That evening, I walked to that bowling alley. It was way out on Kilgore Avenue from McKinley Junior High School, and told me, man, I had to have a job. He gave me a job setting pins. That first week, I made $1.50. I went back that Monday and asked, girl, you got any more of that candy? He said, yeah. I said, give me a whole box. And I passed it out. I said, that made me feel so good. I've been working ever since, so I'd have money.
Now, remember, you got to say this now, because I did the same thing for a while in New York City. People today with automatic pin setters don't know what it was like to set pins.
You ain't lying, man. You'd have to buy them guys that throw that second ball down there. You're down there picking up pins up, and here come that other ball. You ain't waiting for the one to come back you're supposed to wait for. And they roll that second ball on you, and then the pins start flying. Yeah, it was.
So that was your first job setting
pins?
pins?
My first job. Yeah, I think I was about 14 years old then.
Yeah. Well, then go on from there.
And after that, well, I went in the Army.
Yeah.
And then, no, I went to Mao before then.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, I went to Ball Brothers because they was hiring you when you was 16 years old. Man, they were passing leaflets out downtown Muncie.
Yeah.
You're 16 years old, we'll hire you because it was on the cost plus or whatever they call it. And whatever they paid you, the government paid them 10% more.
Yeah.
Just so they would hire people. And so I did that, and I was working on the labor yard gang where we go around pick up paper and cut grass, do that kind of stuff. And we slipped off one day and one evening went over to Heacon Park where the softball game was going on. And the boss called us over there watching the softball game. Fired about 7 or 8 of us. We all left, said, hell, we don't care. We'll go find a job somewhere else. And we were walking going to Marhoe. There's Keener Packaging Company. And I stopped at the Mile one day. I said, man, I ain't going in the Mile. I'm not going to work in there. But I had my uncle, Burl, when he was still living, he worked there. So I went in there, and they hired me right on the spot. You know, and they was taking me down in the founder part. And he saw me, and he's come running over and said, where are you taking that boy? I said, we're taking him down here in the fountain. And he said, no, you ain't taking him around that hot arm. Take him over in the core room. So he could work over there. So I worked over there for, you know, all the time I was in high school.
But you went to high school. This is after high school?
No.
After you got out of school.
No, this was before I got out of school.
Well, you're in high school.
Yeah, I was in the 10th grade.
Yeah, so you go there in the afternoon after school or on weekends?
No, I'd get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and go down there and work. And get off at 10 o'clock and go to Central High School. And I had to be there for 10:30.
Oh, okay.
And then I'd go to school the rest of the day.
Yeah.
They let me do that.
Was that fairly common to other people in that day?
I don't know how many of them were doing it, but they would let you work about any way you could, you know, and just lucky I had teachers that understood that, you know, I was helping my mother because she had my youngest brother came down from Poland.
Right.
And my oldest brother, he was in the Navy.
Oh, okay.
He joined the Navy. He quit high school.
Oh, okay.
Went in the Navy.
Yeah.
And by the way, about him, you know, he did that, and he helped land troops on Normandy Beach on D-Day. Navy. And then when he got out, and he got to run around with some guys, got him in trouble. He called my mother one night and said he was in jail in Anderson because she'd come get him out and all that stuff. And he rejoined, went in the Army when the Korean War started, and he was lost in Korea, but he gave his life in Korea. because.
So your experience with the Malleable was while you were a high school kid.
Yeah.
I want you to talk some about what the work life was like at Muncie Malleable. What did people do there?
Well, they made castings for Chrysler Corporation. They made the case that the transmission gears go into, the differential gears went into, and that kind of casting like that.
How many different kinds of jobs were there then? You said you were in the core area and you didn't want to go in the foundry.
Yeah. I imagine there's at least a dozen different departments there.
Okay.
There was a shipping, and core room, and the foundry part, and the annealing part. That's where they treat iron so it wouldn't break.
Yeah, right.
They had about 500 employees.
Yeah, that was my next question. They work round-the-clock shifts?
Yeah, there were people that had to work at night. Like, that's why I went to work at 2 o'clock in the morning, I guess it was.
Yeah.
To get the sand ready for the core makers when they came in at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
We had to have that sand that they made those cores out of. The core went in the center. Okay. And when it got hot, the iron was hot, that thing would form it, and then it would crumble, and they would shake it out. They called it shakeout. Shake that sand out of the inside, and left it like.
Was there a union there then?
Yeah.
Okay. What union was that?
It was UAW.
Okay. And that had been unionized what?
Before World War II? Unionized before that, but before the CIO came in there, it was AFL.
Okay.
And that was really a bad situation for the black workers because they wanted them to join the union, but they wouldn't let them do any of the skilled jobs.
Oh, okay. Which was AFL.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I hated them, and and when I was, even before I started working there, my uncle worked there, and they hated to go to the union hall because these guys were so racist. And they would give us a dime to go to the Wise and Grand Theater to go up there and pay their unions. I think it was 35 cents a month. They said, I don't want to go up there with them, And you go and you go up there and they'd be picking on our heads and all that kind of stuff. How
Sure.
I hated it.
So they went from being an AFL union, which of course is craft, to AFL-CIO when the AFL-CIO came together?
Yeah, the AFL they were the skilled workers in there, the mold makers and the core makers and those guys, supposedly skilled trades work. But the other guys, they didn't have any union in the early years, but after, I guess it must have been around 1940 and all, they organized the CIO, which was the line workers, the laborers, and all those guys, and that was the majority of people in the plant. So once they organized, then they really became the driving force in there because the skilled workers, when they negotiated, they were negotiating pay raises and better work just for themselves. So it screwed the rest of it.
So the unskilled people didn't get any. So you're working there, you graduate from high school, you go into service. When you came back from the service, you went back to Muncie Malleable? Did they have to have a job for you? Was that part of the union regulation?
No, that wasn't part of the union regulation, as I recall. But they needed workers, and they were tickled to death, when I came back. And that's when I really got interested in the union, when I came back home. And there's a guy named Frank Nelson. He was an old coal miner that came here from either West Virginia or Pennsylvania, somewhere up in there. And he helped organize the CIO Congress, and that's right, and he kind of became my mentor because he was precinct committee out there in the White Bay area. And I indicated, I was interested in the political system and all that. He kind of took me under his wings and was kind of my mentor. And when I was 23, that's when they elected. Well, first I was a shop steward, and then I served on the bargaining committee. And then I was elected president at union when I was 23 or 24 or something.
How long did you work for Malleable?
I worked there until I went on the fire department in 1958.
Well, tell me about that transition. What you're working in a CIO job, you're active in union activities. Well, I guess I should digress and just ask you one question. Did they have any strikes while you were there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, tell me a little bit about that. And what was the relationship like between labor and management?
It was, you know, antagonistic.
Okay.
They went at each other all the time. You know, it was a difficult situation, but those guys really believed that they could change their condition, and they were committed to the union. And you know, that I've heard stories of them way back. Said the old guy used to, old man White, when he owned it, said, well, the workers get antsy, get done, let's close it down, go down to Florida, stay for 3 or 4 months, people stand there begging to come back. And I did hear some stories from my uncle and the other guy. They'd be sitting around shooting breeze, playing horseshoes in the alley. And White, that's what they did. They didn't have no money, so on Saturday morning they had horseshoes out, hitting the stakes out there. They'd be picking horseshoes, telling lies and all that stuff, you know. And they, you know, they would talk about how they would say, well, if my workers getting restless, I'll go to Florida for 3 months and shut her down, and they'd be standing there begging to go to work. Back. And they did. They shared me. They said that they would have 400 or 500 grown men stand all around McCullough Park, and they'd blow this whistle 3 times, toot, toot, and they'd go running like a herd of horses, cattle or something. And the guy said, you. The rest of them go on back over if we need to go blow the whistle. That's the way they treated us. That's what led up to them guys organizing. They just humiliated them. Finally, they said, hell with this, you know, we're going to take our lives in our own hands.
Yeah. Well, during the time that you were involved in leadership in the union at Muncie Malleable, were there specific things that you look back on that the union was able to gain
from the
workers?
Everything.
Okay. All right.
Everything.
Okay, so you went from a little bit to a lot.
Yeah, the thing that I remember most of that's why I've been pissed off with doctors ever since. You know, when we were fighting for group health insurance, they were fighting us, saying it was socialized medicine. Well, no good. Hell, we built the damn machine that made all them suckers rich. And when we demanded health care for you know, ourselves and our families and all. But that's the way it was. You know, every bit of progress was made by working people was made in spite of the established, the Chamber of Commerce, establishment people. They fought us all the way, and they still do.
Well, look at the healthcare situation today.
They fight the working class people until it comes time to fight a damn war. Then they come get our kids to fight the fucking war for them.
But when you think of the things that you gained when you were involved in union activities at Malleable, are you able to say, for the record, we spent most of our time working on wage issues, or we spent most of our time working on fringe benefits? I mean, are the two really the same thing?
They're entwined, plus working conditions.
Okay.
If you had a bad, unsafe situation, you just shut it down. And until you fix it, you know, your plant's not going to run, or this line's not going to run, whatever it is. But safety was involved. All of that was involved in that stuff.
So, by the time you left there to go to the fire department, were the working conditions and the wages and the fringe benefits in pretty good shape, would you say?
Yeah, for that time. Yeah, they were. You know, they weren't the high. They weren't like one of your wages and all. You know, at that time they were probably half of what they were.
Oh, really?
And those people, but it was still, you know, good money for that point in time. You know, you could pay your bills and feed your family.
I mean, you could live on it. That's the point.
Yeah.
Okay. After you left Malleable, you never went back there, did you?
No.
Okay.
I worked there for a couple of years when I went on the fire department because I had become the time study steward. Plant then they had paid my way to go to Purdue University and down to IU to learn time study to represent the workers in there. And when I left, they didn't have anybody to take my place that, you know, had that skill. So they asked me if I would stay on my days off on the fire department and come in there and still do time study checks with the man. It'd be a union guy and a management guy there when they was time studying the job. And so that the management people didn't pull any tricks on how long it took them to do something and all that. That it would be a fair price set. So you called them until they could train somebody to take my place.
What happened to Malleable?
Well, after I left there, Dayton Malva took it over and became Dayton. They come out of Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah.
And they kept it probably for 10 or 15 years. And must have been in the late 60s, somewhere along in there. Just now came out that they were shutting it down.
Huh. So it hasn't been around here for quite a while.
No, I'm sure it was the late 60s.
Was that part of Dayton Walther or something like that? Okay, which is this race car driver, Salt Walther? Wasn't his father or something?
Yes, yeah. It came out of Dayton, Ohio.
Dayton Walther.
Yeah, they bought it. The guys that owned it while I was here was named Malnoski, John Malnoski.
Huh.
He owned it, was locally owned. Operated him, his son, all ran the plant. That was the latest one. Poor man Mikey had already died before I went.
Do you know off the top of your head how far back this goes, when Mallyville started in Muncie?
I never have heard the exact date, but I would guess it had to be at least in the late 1800s.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it come to the old country.
Huh. Okay, so you make the transition. Why'd you do that? Why'd you go to the fire department?
Well, it was a combination of things. One, we've been trying to break the color line on the Muncie Fire Department for years and years. And
did the police have African Americans at that point?
Yeah, they had African Americans. Yeah, they were late on getting on board. They got on board before the fire department. Okay. And they really fought me and John Blair going on that fire department. They said they didn't want to sleep with the blacks.
Why do you think that the fire department fought that so much more than the police department?
Because they got more time to sit around and think up that little shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you and Blair applied. Now what year is this?
No, we didn't apply.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't that simple.
Okay, all right.
They had a school that they put. I think it was 20 or 21 guys could go to that school to qualify and all. And John Blair and a kid named Jim Sullivan, who was on 2 state basketball
yeah, I saw them.
They were picked to go to the first school.
Oh, okay.
And the mayor had promised that they would break the color line off. And there was 21 guys in that class, and 19 of them were put on the fire department. You know who the 2 wasn't put on?
Yeah, 2 blacks.
Yeah, Blair.
Yeah.
So, and the black community was so damn mad that told Tory, they said, we ain't voting for you. Next election.
This is Mayor Toohey.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so this guy, Frank Nelson, I'm talking about, who was a committeeman out there, and he became power in Democrat politics and all. And Leo Lassard, who was the mayor's assistant or secretary, whatever he was. Anyway, he was right in with the mayor.
Right.
And with Toohey. And they came to my house and said, we got to find somebody early there. Nobody can find anything against them. I'll be around, because we're going to do this time, whether them guys like it or not. You know, and I stewed around for a long time because I didn't believe them. And then Frank kept talking to me, Nelson, the guy that the mentor. And he said, we really need somebody. We're going to break this color barrier.
Yeah.
So I finally agreed to do it.
Okay. Which meant you had to go to school.
Yeah.
Okay. How long did school last?
I think the school lasted about 4 or 5 months.
Okay. So it's pretty intensive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
But by going through the school, you get on the list if you pass through the school.
Yeah, but that didn't have a damn thing to do with it. Some dumbasses on there that didn't have no business being on there. But that guy, they were going on brains, half of the guy wouldn't be on there, you know.
But my point is that some people don't make it through the school. I mean,
Some of them drop out, but not very many.
Oh, okay.
As I recall, you know, not very many of them just washed out because they didn't go or didn't want to go. Because really, it wasn't that difficult for me.
Okay. Well, you've been in the service and you're pretty good shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, the physical part of it wasn't a problem because I played ball, baseball, and all that stuff when I was growing up and everything. So that wasn't a problem. It was just flat out racism.
Okay. So you got through this. Then what happened next?
Well, you know, we had, like I said, there were 52. As I remember, there were 52 white guys that signed a petition and said they did not want to work for blacks and that they would quit if we were hired. And the mayor, in essence, told him, my office is open, you can bring your resignation anytime you want to bring it to me. And he didn't get any resignations. So then we went there, they put us on the most menial jobs on the fire department, which I said was a big joke. Oh, hell, I've been working at a damn foundry, you know, ain't wasn't nothing they could do up there. But we had, at that time, they had the coal-fired furnace in the basement up there at number 1 station, so they put us down there to keep the fire going in the furnace and all that, you know, that menial stuff like that. That didn't bother me because, you know, like I said, I've been working in a foundry.
So how many blacks were on the force then?
None.
Just
we
you?
were the first 2. Yeah. John Blair started on April 1st, 1958, and I started April 2nd, the next day. There were 2 terms at that time, and we worked 24 hours a day, every other day.
Okay. What house were you assigned to?
Number 1, Jackson, Madison.
Oh, you went downtown?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's where the sign is.
Now, at that time, was the fire department unionized?
Yeah. Yeah, that's another story, too, because it wouldn't let me join the union when I first went.
Okay.
Hell, I took my transfer card and said, hell, I'm transferring from UAW to firefighter. They said, no, you can't. We can't consider you until you've been on here. I think he said 3 months or 6 months, something like that. So I just said, okay. So I came on back up, and that's when I really met a guy that I admire to the day. His name was Ed Williamson. He was an old Muncie citizen, baseball player and all. And he wasn't with those guys. He said, Hurley said that what they're doing is not right, and I don't support them and all. And he was an assistant chief on my term. When I came up, I told him what happened. He was going to go down and raise hell. I said, no. I said, I don't mind waiting 90 days. Hell, after 90 days, I'm going to pay him no dues.
Yeah, right.
You know, and so he, you know, he helped me a lot in, you know, kind of mentoring me and letting me know that I would. There were all white guys on there, wasn't like those few assholes that were on there. And so I always respected that, and I always tell people, you know, he taught me a lot about what it means to stand up when nobody else will, you know. And after that, you know, I joined the union, and things were still pretty bad. Like I said, the thing that changed the whole thing is that at that time, the city was giving them $1 a week raise every year, $52 a year. It's a raise they was getting. And I remember I was making $4,200 when I went on a year when I went on the fire department. So they were antsy and trying to figure out what to do. And I told one, I said, well, hell, I know all them guys from organized labor. I said, why don't you let me go down here to the union hall and ask them if they'll endorse our wage increase, you know, this year and all. I went down there, they said, hell, we'll not only do that, we'll take out an ad in the Muncie paper that we support you, and we'll walk picket lines in the damn city hall if you want us to and all. And that first year, we got a 3-year contract with a $500 raise every year. And then a lot of the racism went away. There were still a few diehards that still resented us being on there, but for the most part, I said, hell, Goodall help us get $500 more a year. Hell, we got to quit this stuff.
We don't care what color it is.
Yeah, right. And from then on, things kind of really...
How involved were you from that point on then with union activities in the fire department?
I was really involved. I was involved, you know, we shut the fire department down in 1977. I had 6 months to go that I could retire. And I was right out in front of that. But just fortunately, Dan Kelly was on the city council then. We were good friends. And I was talking to him and Elmer Cox and those guys. And I'd never forget Elmer. Elmer was scared to death that time. When I went out to Ball Brothers to talk to him, he said, these balls got ears good. I said, we can't stand it. So we got on the train. He ran the train that brought the boxcars in. We were riding back and forth out to the ballpark on that train, talking about what we could do, how we could get this settled. And so finally, it was 3:30 in the morning. They called me from home, said, Hurley, said, the city's ready to negotiate. Said, can you come in 3:30 in the morning? I said, yeah, I'll be there. So I got there, and the thing was really innocent. Is don't put this in the thing. Dan Kelly told Bob Cunningham, he started running off his mouth about what he wanted to do. He said, sit your ass over in that fucking corner and we'll get this thing settled, you know. And sure enough, when we came out, we had settled it up.
What was the major issue of the strike, or was it more than one thing?
It was what happened is Bob Cunningham said he was going to give us a 10% wage increase, and he wouldn't budge off of that. And the guys felt like, well, if you start out with 10, we did 12 or 13, you know, and it just got out of hand. It became a grudge fight.
Okay.
That's why, because Kelly told him to sit around in the damn corner. We resolved. I think they finally gave us 12%.
As you look back at the difference between union activities with the firefighters and union activities at Muncie Malleable, how were they different?
Well, they were a lot different. Those guys at Malva, they really believed in what they was doing. They believed that they could change their own situation. I don't think them guys at the fire department believe that. I don't think they believe it today.
Oh, I was going to ask you that. You don't think it's changed that much?
Hell no. No, most of them guys are lazy and get off their ass and scared.
So the UAW had a lot different approach to this.
Oh, absolutely.
Than the firefighters.
Yeah. Not only did they have absolutely different approach, but they would call on other unions to come and pick it. They'd set a picket line up. Every guy that wanted there, Chevrolet, and every other plant in this town. If they called and said, we need some help, they would come and help them. But the firefighters, other than me going down there at that time and asking if they would support our wage increase, I don't remember them ever going to.
So the firefighters, because they're local, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they're kind of off on their own. They don't have the clout of all these big organizations. Okay, so they don't really get much done. You talked a lot about being at Muncie Malleable and working conditions, fringe benefits, wage package, et cetera, et cetera. What was it like with the firefighters? I mean, did they have pretty good fringe benefits, or you made the transition from the UAW to the local firefighters?
Yeah, well, it was a lot different from the factory because the firefighters worked in 24-hour shifts and all, and you could do about anything you wanted to do on the day you was off.
Oh, you could? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you could have another job?
Yeah.
Okay. You were 24 on, 24 off?
24 on, 24 off, and you do that 3 days, I think.
Right,
And that seventh day, they called it Kelly Day, in honor of some guy, old firefighter died, and then you would go back to that every other day. So if you had time to do anything you wanted to do, you want to work on the house, you had a day off every other day.
Yeah, but did guys have other jobs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so you could do whatever you want to do on your off day. In fact, me and another guy, a good friend of mine, Chuck Sanders, we had a construction business that in my latter years there, where we would fix old run-down houses for mutual home. Yeah, they would let it. We'd get an old house if somebody had been in, tore it up, we'd go in and fix it.
Just out of curiosity, do the firefighters in Muncie still have the same kind of schedule that you guys did? That 24 off, 24 off?
Pretty much. I think it's a little different now, but I just got them out. The calendar, they have a calendar in different colors. So you can easier days off. No, they do that for the whole year.
Well, the reason I was asking that is that, I don't mind saying this to you, is I've had a guy do some electrical work on my house as a firefighter, and he always seems to have big blocks of time to come over and work on the house.
Yeah, but he does. I think it's still every other day, but now it seems like on that 5th day they get 3 days in a row.
Oh, okay.
I got that calendar.
Okay. All right, go back to so you stayed with the fire department until you retired from the fire department.
Yeah, 20 years.
Okay, and at that time, that's what that was? If you put in 20 years, you could retire?
It's still that way.
So it's 20 years with full benefits?
No, I'm sorry. Well, they changed the law. I remember
Okay.
they changed the law when I was down there. I told them guys it was crazy when they did it.
This is the state law?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the state. So, under state law.
Yeah.
And I told them that they were making a mistake, and the state of Indiana gave them a choice of staying on the old way we did it or coming to the new, and if they came to the new, they would give them $10,000 cash.
Okay.
And these guys took that
Took
money.
the 10,000?
Yeah, worst mistake they ever made in their life, because when they got that 10,000, first thing they did was took 2,500 out for taxes.
Yeah.
They got 7,500. Most of them went and bought a new car, and the damn car was gone. And then they couldn't retire until they was 55. If they went on there when they was 18 years old, they had to stay on there, what, 30-something years.
Well, was it your plan when you went with the fire department to retire at the end of 20 years?
I don't think it was a plan.
You could have
but
stayed if you wanted to.
Oh, yeah, I could have stayed. Yeah, I could stay. You could stay there, you know. There'd been guys, I think the oldest one's been 65
Sure.
or more, you know, stay there.
Right.
I wouldn't want to do that. I mean, I didn't have that much love for what I was doing.
Oh, okay.
I was ready to take care of my family.
Okay. How would you compare that job with the job you had at Muncie Valley?
Oh, hell, it was paradise.
Oh, okay.
I didn't get to lay up in bed and sleep all that.
Okay.
About there, hell, I said all the time, when I first went in there, before I went in the Army at Muncie, there was a wall right down the middle of the cafeteria. It was about 7 or 8 feet high. A black seat on one side and a white seat on the other. When I was sitting over in Japan, when I said, I go back to that plant first, I'm going to get that damn wall. That don't make sense, you know. And so I went back, filed a grievance, to make a long story short. Came down, but I always tell people when I was talking about it, hell, when it was so damn dirty in there, you couldn't tell the white guy from the black guys anyway, so I don't know what the damn deal was, you know. And when I filed the grievance, well, the superintendent out there, he said, well, if you take that wall down, Goodall said, we'll have fights all up in there. I said, well, they work together down here on the line, they don't fight, what's the difference? He said, well, we farm if they fight down there. I said, well, goddamn it, farm if they fight up there. He said, that makes sense. And the damn wall came down, did nobody
No fights?
No, act like people didn't even know it was there, just custom. But that's the way they was doing it.
Yeah. So, I mean, as you look back on that part of your career, working at Muncie Malleable was real tough blue-collar work.
Yeah.
By contrast with the fire department.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. You know, there wasn't no comparison as far as the physical effort.
Yeah, but the difference being, you know this, that
the difference was that you had to be away from your family 24 hours a day.
Right.
It was on the fire department.
Yeah.
I had 2 young kids, and my wife had to do everything, you know, with them when I was on duty.
Well, and you know, you're placing your life in harm's way when something really happens.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was always at risk, you know, but you don't think about it like when I was in the Army over there, and hell, it wasn't until the last few months of my time, I said, I'll go around and get killed over here.
Yeah.
And, you know, you same way there. You get out at the end of that 20 years.
Yeah.
So, and we had a fire the night, last day before I left there. That damn car was burning all over. I said, sucker's gonna blow up and kill me last night. You know, that went through my mind.
Yeah. But when you got to that point where 20 years was up, did you have some idea at that point, as you look back on your illustrious career, doing a lot of different things, that you wanted to do something else after that fire department period?
Not really.
Oh, okay.
You know, I knew I had to have some kind of job. And of course, I was, you know, involved in politics. And Rip Nelson was county chairman.
Right.
And I went and talked to Rip. I said, man, I'm coming off the fire department. I need something to do here. He said, well, let me make a couple of calls. And one of the commissioners, I forget who it was now, called me and said, Goodall said, we got a job with the county engineer.
Oh, okay.
If you'd like to do that, said, all you have to do is hold the pole for him while he uses the scope.
Oh, surveying job?
Yeah, surveying, all that. Hell, that sounds just about like what I want, you know.
Yeah, right.
So that's what I did until I got elected to the legislature.
Okay.
I was elected legislator probably within 3 or 4 years. I think I did that for 3 or 4 years.
I want to come back to some Muncie things, but since your career is so unique because of your great service to lots of people, including this place, when you were in the legislature, what kind of view did you have of organized labor and union activities while you were a member of the legislature?
Oh, heck, I was their champion.
Okay.
I took all of their crappy bills when nobody else fooled with them, you know, like collective bargaining for public employees and all that kind of stuff. Everybody else was scared to touch it. But when I went down there, I told them, they come and talk to me in the chamber and all that. I said, I'm going to tell you, I'm elected from a blue-collar district, working-class district.
Right.
That's who I represent.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, that's your damn problem. That ain't mine. And that's the way I approached it. And they never did bug me about it. They knew where I stood, where I was coming from.
Okay.
So every piece of legislation that affected firefighters, police officers, school teachers, and all, I was either a sponsor or author for that bill in the House of Representatives.
Did you have problems getting co-signers to those bills?
Not really,
Oh,
because
okay.
you could always get them people up in Lake County.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
They were
Yeah.
strong, with labor people.
Yeah.
And so it really, it wasn't any problem. The problem was trying to get enough Republicans to vote for something to get passed when we didn't have a majority.
Oh, okay.
We had the majority, organized labor got almost anything we wanted.
Did you think that during the time you were in the legislature that organized labor made some progress in the state?
They made some progress early on, but then they lost their guts. I always told them, I said, you guys give in too damn easy. They wouldn't dare talk to Jim with comments like I did. I thought, I'd give a damn what the chamber talk. You didn't elect me.
Yeah.
You didn't donate no money to me, so I don't know you nothing. I just tell them flat out, why don't you stand there arguing with them, you know? And finally, they said, well, we respect Goodall to tell you right where he's at.
Right.
And he don't bite his tongue about it.
Yeah.
And that's where he is.
Well, Tiny comes out of the labor background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tiny does a good job for
Yeah.
organizing. I imagine they depend on him about as much as anybody down there now to carry the legislation for them and to get them through the maze and all that. Even like when I was there, I told the firefighters, state firefighters, I said, any piece of legislation you want, you just go down there to the legislative service office and tell them Representative Goodall sent you and whatever you want them to draft for you in legal form.
They'll do it?
Do it in my name.
Is that the thing that Satch runs now? That legal
Yeah.
service? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's what he's in charge of?
Yeah, it's about 100 lawyers in there.
That's what they do? You go down there and you tell them you want a bill and they work it up?
Legislators only one can do it. They won't do it for nobody else.
Huh. I mean, that's basically what legislative services
Yeah,
does.
yeah.
So whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, you go to one of those guys and they'll draft something
They
for
have
you?
to. That's their job. You go down there and say, I want a bill, and here's what, sometimes people will give you something they've already drafted.
Right.
They'll tell them, put in legal form, whatever it is, I don't know. But if they go down there and they say, Representative Goodall is offering this bill, if he give me his permission to come down here and have you draft what we want.
Yeah.
So they didn't have to worry about nothing. I told them, I said, at least you're going to have a bill drafted in writing with a bill number on it and all that. It may not get out of committee, it may not go anywhere, but you at least take it back to your membership. Say, here's the bill. We got it drafted on almost everything that comes through the House. During the time I was there from organized labor, it had my name on it.
Since you're not doing this anymore, neither am I really. What do you think your relationship was like with Ball State when you were down there?
It was good, because even the Republican lobbyists, I guess I was more Larry Kinghorn than any of them. I thought he was phony as hell. But
so is everybody else.
But Tad Perry, we got along real well.
Yeah.
I can't remember all of them now.
Oh, let's see. Well, Satch was down there for a while.
Yeah, Satch, he was always. See, he came out of legislative services.
Yeah, so he knew a lot of guys.
Yeah, he knew guys and all, but he didn't have the bullshit that Tad.
Were you still down there when McDaniel was working for us?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Daniel said he ain't never seen nobody like me. He came.
No.
He came to me one day. They won something that they won. I don't know, the Indiana Academy or something.
Yeah,
anyway,
probably,
Pat Bauer was our lead guy on the committee that was hearing the bill, and he promised me that he would put it on the table.
Yeah.
And so they met at 8 o'clock in the morning. I didn't have no committee at 8 o'clock. Mine didn't start at 10, labor and all that. So I was there every morning at 8 o'clock. Found him. Daniel saw me out hard. I said, Goodall, said, what are you doing here at 8 o'clock every morning? I said, that son of a bitch told me he's going to put that bill out there for consideration. I said, I'm sitting there, so you can't tell me a damn lie. And I said, damn, Goodall, I forgot it. I said, he ain't gonna be able to see that while I'm sitting there looking at it. Finally, after about 7 or 8 meetings, Pat put the bill out there. Of course, it passed our committee because the rest of them didn't care. They let the process take care of it.
Yeah.
But you have to have a committee member to introduce it, or you never get introduced. I come out and Mike and Dan and said, I ain't never seen nobody but all. I said, hell, I know him. I said, I was sitting there looking at it, son, if you tell me you forgot it.
That's great. Okay, back to Muncie. As you look back on the relationship between management and labor in this community, do you think it's changed over time, and if it has, how has it changed?
Yeah, I think the way it's changed is that the workers got too prosperous for their own good.
Okay.
They took it for granted.
Okay.
That those benefits and all that they earned back here were God-given. That they wasn't, the people didn't pay a whole lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and did without and everything else, put their ass on the line and all for that. And these workers now, they don't believe that they can control their own destiny. They say, ain't nothing I can do about it. So, well, they can do the same thing we did. They shut it down. They say, if our family's gonna go hungry, by God, yours is too. So they don't know by it. And you know, they've lost their way. And in this, of course, it's a whole different world with this international thing, you know, that's going on now, where they're shipping automobile plants overseas. Japanese come in here to build plants and all that. And organized labor had no strategy to deal with that.
None at all. Did you have the same kind of fringe benefits with the fire department you had with the UAW? I mean, were they roughly the same thing? I mean, I think about things like healthcare and stuff like that.
Yeah, we had to pay. I didn't have to pay nothing at my hour.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But I had to pay part of mine.
Because UAW, you didn't pay anything.
Well, depending on how you negotiate the contract.
Right,
I guess the city employee and the farmer always paid part of theirs out of their paycheck and all. As far as vacations and holidays and things like that, you know, we really on the fire department didn't have no holiday. Like the police department the same way. 4th of July, Christmas, it's your turn to work. You got to work. Sunday or whatever it is. But I think, you know, they just lost their backbone is all now. I mean, we believe that we could control our own destiny. These people don't believe that. They want somebody else to do it. They want somebody else to go out there to be the best. Walk the picket line for them and all that.
And there are no more Walter Reuther's or John L. Lewis's.
Yeah, I didn't never hear nobody back in say, we might farm you. I do that. They say, by God, you know, our family deserve to make some money as much as well the old man Malnoski does. And if he make a lot, we gonna make some. If we don't make none, he ain't gonna make none.
Well, I think the difference is that there was a view then, because my in-laws were like this in Detroit, that the working man deserved to have a middle-class life.
Yeah.
And he or she deserved that middle-class life in terms of wages, in terms of fringe benefits, in terms of paid holidays, vacations. You know what I'm talking about. And that's the way my father-in-law lived, as a guy who was a blue-collar guy at Scott Paper.
And they were willing to pay the price. I mean, they went out there on their bricks. They didn't know whether they were going to get back or not. You know, but they believed that, you know, this will be either we get our fair share or we don't get nothing and they don't get nothing. And now, these people, they don't believe that they could make those kind of decisions for themselves. They sit there and they got all the power. They got power to give them.
Yeah, right.
That's all they got.
Exactly.
All they got.
What do you think are some of the advantages as well as the disadvantages of unions as you've experienced them?
Well, the disadvantage of union is, you know, you always got them guys that take advantage of it. But, you know, if you've got a grievance process, you probably spend all your damn grievance time on 5% of the damn work in the plant. The same damn guy who laid there today. Same ones get caught goofing off. All that stuff, you know. That percent, they take advantage of it because they get away with coming around and all that kind of stuff. Because they got a union without you know, it'd be a cakewalk.
Oh, okay. So you think without that 5%, as you experienced it in your life, it's pretty much an example of people who know what's expected of them, that they put in a solid day's work, they really make the contribution, and as a result that they deserve to have wages, benefits, etc., that are part of a middle-class life.
And they believe they can make it happen.
Yeah.
These people don't believe it. They say, well, don't even do what I do, they ain't going to do this. They have to make that kind of choice. This business, you know, you're going to give it you a fair share of whatever the profits are.
Yeah.
You know, they'll come around.
What role, although you touched on this a little bit in our conversation, what role do you think that race played in union activities in Muncie?
Played a big part.
Okay.
Because I think, for one thing, that's where most of the black leadership, as far as civic things, where they got their training. You know, that's where mine came from. You know, Dan Kelly, Albert Johnson, different ones. You know, that served on the councils and things. They got their leadership training and organized labor when they themselves on the end.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. What about the role of women in unions?
Well, you know, they didn't have any women, you know, out there at the Malvern. They didn't have any, you know, when I went on the fire department. But I know women, you know, that worked at Chevrolet and Delco and Baltimore and all that. And I don't, you know, I guess they're all right.
Yeah. Well, you know, you talked about going out to the Chevrolet workers tomorrow and talking to them. If you're going to go out there, why don't you ask them that and see if they're, you know, I'd like to, in this study we're doing together, I'd like to find some women who at some point might have played some leadership role.
Yeah, well,
in some of the
women.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
In some of the unions.
Some of them talk.
Well, last question I've got, and I want you to just to reflect on this a little bit and add anything you want to add.
Okay.
Muncie was once described to me when I came here in the late 1960s as a union town. Has that changed, and if it's changed, why has it changed? Do you think it was a union town in the late 1960s?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Why would you say that? So if I'm up in Michigan, I'm thinking coming to Ball State, take a job here, and the first 5 guys I talked to said, oh yeah, that's a real solid blue-collar union town. Was that perception of Muncie in the 60s accurate?
It was an accurate description too, because those guys would stand up for the downtrodden people, at least fortunately in the community, you know, and nobody else really did a damn where they really put themselves out for just the average guy. But anytime you were, if you were on strike and your workers needed food or something like that, the other union would come and help you, you know, give their money to you to help you out, and find food, raise food, pantries and stuff to help you out and all that kind of stuff. And they were a real brotherhood.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you talk about, you know, this sounds somewhat trite to students these days. You talk about solidarity forever. That really mattered. Okay, so people really did feel that.
Oh, yes, they felt it. They knew how they got where they got, and they wasn't going to let it go.
Oh, okay.
You know, they lived through them hard times, Depression, and World War II. Things pretty much ran based on the war and all, but it was after the war when they really got a toehold and really took control of their own lives. As far as the workplace was concerned.
So it's changed, and today it's not like that. And I would suggest, you can disagree with me if you want to, it's probably never going to be that way again.
Oh yeah, it will be.
You think it will?
Yeah.
Okay, why?
Because the excesses of the power structure will force the people to rise up again.
Okay.
I mean, hell, they ain't never satisfied. So they can beat you down where you're making half as much as when you get to that point where they say you don't take that shit no more.
So it's a cycle.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll come back.
All right. I hope so.
And then this greedy capitalistic system is going to happen.
Yeah.
Because all they care about is making money. And if they can keep their foot on the neck of the guy that's doing the grunt work, they'll do it until he says, get off. I ain't taking it no more, you know. Come down to us getting out in the street and having to shoot out at high noon, by God, get out there, either y'all kill you or you'll kill me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they force it, because the system is built on greed.
Yeah.
And people who, once you get somebody beat down, you got them beat down to where, well, they're making $10 an hour. You say, hell, I ain't going to pay them 10, I'll pay them 5. No, I ain't going to pay them 5, I'll pay them 1. They ought to be glad that I even give them a job and all that kind of BS,
Yeah.
Like it's not a country for all the people here. The only time they worry about the poor people when they did a damn war fought. And they come and say, we need your kid, and wave the flag and all that bullshit. And their kid is running to Canada and going to college and all that shit.
Well, it's like this thing in the paper last week where you read this big story about this Marsh thing being for sale.
Mm-hmm.
And the next day they give some guy who's a vice president of Marsh a $250,000 bonus for doing a good job that
They're
year.
doing that in all these big old
Of course they
companies
are.
like
Sure.
it, and them suckers up there on Wall Street and all that shit, they can't even unplunge the toilet in the damn house, And they're paying that guy millions of dollars so they pay some poor sucker to come clean that toilet out. I don't know how to do it in that time. The excesses of the power people always force the revolutions.
That's
Just
true.
how oppressive it gets before the pot boils over. But it'll happen because they ain't never satisfied. He's saying, well, I got $1 billion, hell, I'll let work and have the rest. They ain't gonna do that. They got $1 billion, they want 2. They get 2, they want 3. They get 3, they want 4. They ain't never satisfied.
It's called the Bush-Cheney approach to economics.
Yeah.
But one question I forgot to ask you, as I look over the questions here, I didn't ask you how the union, whether it was at Malleable or the firefighters, in your experience, how did it actually function? How did it operate? I mean, what's the hierarchy about how unions made decisions and things like that?
Well, they had executive boards, and they have president, vice president, secretary, financial secretary, treasurer, and then they would have a bargaining committee. They did the actual bargaining with the company when they had shop stewards, and they would handle grievances right on the floor with it and all. And that whole structure would come together when you decided, are we going to shut this plant down? So it was pretty large. Even a plant like the Mount, we would have maybe 10 or 11 departments in there. And your top officers and your stewards.
So every department had a representative?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Everybody had a steward right in your department.
Okay. Firefighters do the same thing, same kind of organization for the union?
Not really.
Oh, okay.
Because they're pretty much, together all the time. They're in different stations, but they still interact with each other all the time. So they pretty much depend on their president, vice president, bargaining committee.
Do you know historically why it is that the firefighters have a union in Muncie and the police don't?
Because that's the tradition they done pumped in the employees since here. They shouldn't be organized, shouldn't have a union. I say the most stupid thing in this country is if you don't organize to take your own energy out of the damn fool. Everybody else is organized. The doctors got the medical association, the business people got the chamber of commerce, the lawyers got the bar association. When it comes to the poor old blue collar worker, he's supposed to get out there and get his ass kicked all over the place. And never band together and say enough. We ain't gonna take no more. Because he's the guy that really makes the thing run.
Yeah, exactly.
You can run the country without them damn lawyers and all them other fuckers that run around, but you can't run that damn society without the guy that's out there planting the field, planting the food, and doing the work, building the houses and all that. Them people that make it go, not them money people sit up counting how many dollars they got.
Yeah. No, that's right. Exactly so.
Yeah. And once people understand that, they just won't stand for it, but it takes a whole lot. When the lid blows off, we have almost a revolution. And everybody gets comfortable in it. That's right.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add to our interview? Any other final thoughts that you have on labor leadership in Muncie?
No, not really. Just, it was an interesting time to be alive, if you were a blue-collar worker. Unions were at their peak, where they were really a force in whatever kind of public decisions were made and all, and to see working class people lose that really frustrates me, because the only thing that really bit poverty in this country was the organized work. None of them barons give up any of that money without somebody.
Well, and the right to bargain, have collective bargain.
Yeah, and they also drove the whole society, in treating their workers fairly and all, because places like the universities and all, they benefited a lot from those guys' determination for it, because, I never heard no college professor organize the insurance and all that stuff. They said they got it, we ought to have
Sure,
it.
yeah, that's exactly right.
Me too.
Well, it's all done by model. I mean, if they have it, then why shouldn't professors have it, or why shouldn't teachers have it?
Well, they really evidently didn't even think about it. They said, well, as long as I got a steady job and steady paycheck, I don't have to worry about that other stuff. Those guys out in the plants, they had to worry about what am I going to do when the layoffs come, what am I going to do when my kids get sick, and all that. They had to worry about that. But you're a tenured professor, you're going to get your damn paycheck.
Yeah, right.
So that's not even an issue. If you're out there in that factory where they tell you tomorrow, go home, we ain't got no work for you. You got to say, hey, we need a plan for that. Find somebody.
One thing I didn't ask you, and you mentioned this at the beginning, and that is that there was somebody in your family who worked for Malleable that got you into the factory. That's the same thing that happened with my wife and her summer jobs at Scott Paper. As you look back, was that pretty common in Muncie as far as people going into these blue-collar occupations?
Oh, yeah, because they knew when the openings was coming.
Yeah, okay.
And where it was coming. Just at that time, I was only 15 or 16 years old, and I really wasn't looking for that, because like I said, we was out in Ball Brothers, the guy called us that softball game. Fired us, we said, hell with you, we'll go. So we started walking. Somebody said, they hiring out tomorrow for Keener factory at that time. Well, let's go out there and see what's going on. We was walking down the railroad track, and now past the mile. I said, I'm going to go in here. Guy said, I ain't going there, that's too dirty. I ain't going in that dirty work. And I just went in there and asked if he was hiring. The guy said, yeah. He was taking me on down there and found the part. My uncle called and said, no, he ain't working over here. Put him over there. That was just happenstance.
I smile at that because I think to have something like that happen today, to be able to walk down a street and know that there's a good blue-collar job that's going to pay you a decent wage, decent fringe benefits, and you can sort of walk in and get that kind of job, when today you'd be lucky to find that kind of job at Walmart. Because of the difficulties that you have now, where you can't really do what you did and get a job at a place that had a good blue-collar wage and fringe benefits, now all you might be able to find is Walmart or something like that. But
I just think that that will change. That will change. They will force the average working class person in this country to exert themselves again, and that cycle will go again. They'll have a model. That's the only thing. We didn't have a model when they did it back then, because the first time really mass groups of workers organized themselves. There was always skilled trades, specialists and all that. And I guess back in the 1800s, but for just the average factory line worker, it was a phenomenon.
What's the funny thing about Muncie? Because, if you read the history of Muncie, in the late 19th century, especially in the crafts, like the glass blowers and stuff like that, I mean, this town was a big organized labor town. Then it kind of died off for a while, and then came roaring back in the 1930s.
Those guys, they were organized, but they did everything they could to suppress the labor.
Oh, yeah.
Part. They didn't want anything to do with just
the old Knights of Labor.
Where, let them guys get out there and flunky for us and give us all the money.
Yeah, that's right.
And when the CIO came in, that was blue collar, just average worker out there. They empowered them.
Yeah, you're right. The CIO is the real revolution in American labor history. Yeah. Because before that, if you were a glass blower or a carpenter or something like that, and you had a skill, that was one approach to unionization, whereas the Congress Industrial Organization was a whole different approach.
Yeah, and they didn't realize that they were really hurting themselves in a way, because the larger group you can
Oh, yeah,
involve,
sure,
the more
sure.
strength you have. You know, particularly when it comes to elections and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
You can get them masses together and they exert their political will. You aren't going to have public officials that are your enemy.
Yeah, right.
The least they're going to do, they aren't going to screw you. They may not do anything for you, but they ain't going to do nothing to you, because they know they got to come by you next time.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's the best they can have, you know. And I hate to see what's going on now, but I guess it's the process of things that you go through good times, and then you get comfortable and complacent, and then you end up having to repeat that cycle.
Yeah.
The thing of it is, the other side will force you to do that, because they won't be satisfied with just kind of status quo. They just keep on picking and picking,
Sure.
and knocking you down, and say, I ain't going to take it no more.
Oh, exactly right.
You rise up,
Yeah.
fight back.
Get it back, or maybe someday they'll organize Walmart. Wouldn't that be something?
It'll happen.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, the day will come when they'll shut a Walmart down.
Yeah.
They'll put a picket line around there. There won't nobody cross it. I mean, them labor unions had a hell of a lot of power.
Yeah.
They say, we don't do business with them people.
Right.
And they don't even want their buddy working on the next line to see them going in there either.
Yeah.
They can shut them down in a minute.
Exactly.
You know, if they're organized.
Yeah.
Say, we aren't doing business with them guys. So let them take that damn stuff and sell it back to them Chinese.
Or people south of the border.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your
okay.
participation in my study,
Run my
our study.
Yeah.